You're one of those many people that go into a gym and they're not quite sure if their form is right. I want to show you a few simple tips that can help you correct your form and make sure that you are working on the muscle you're supposed to be. These are the techniques I've used myself to correct my form, minimise my chance of injury, and ensure that I am actually working on the muscle that I want. One of the biggest benefits I've had is by setting up a camera or getting somebody to video you. Try and find a quiet area in the gym where you're not affecting anyone else and practice your technique. While you're doing your warm-up, you can adjust your technique, and while you're doing this, I want you to focus on what muscle am I working, can I feel it in that muscle, do I feel safe and secure in that position, and take note of anything else you think might be adjusted. You will also review the exercise after that to ensure that it does look correct on the camera. Sometimes I have completed an exercise, think it feels okay, and then I review the footage and I put myself in quite an unusual, awkward position that needs to be adjusted. I always like to check filming from the front, filming from the side, and then filming from behind, especially with something like squats where you have so many joints and so many chances that you're going to get something wrong. With any multi-joint movement, especially hip hinging, you have high risk to your back and hips. You want to be making sure they're protected at all costs. You start doing the movement and you think that's not quite right, and just make minor adjustments. Like on squats, for example, it might be that your knees are hurting or your lower back, and you can easily just open out your hips or change the position how your knees are facing, or maybe your feet aren't aligned. All these little tips can make a big difference, but if you fix it during the warm-up, once you go onto the main lift, you have rectified all these things, and if not, you just keep adjusting until it feels safe. Looking from different positions is very important as well, so you'll see from this position you get a different view to what the original was. Again, this is just a warm-up. This is a very good position for checking to see if the bar is stable and level, and also a very good position to see if your hips are winking in and out, which we don't want to be doing at the bottom of the movement. And obviously there's a lot of benefits from looking from the side as well. One of the key things we want to be avoiding here, as I said, hip winking. If your core is braced and you're doing things correctly, you want to be avoiding doing this. And then as you can see from here, being completely side on, it gives you a perfect view to see how your hips are aligned, if you're leaning too far, too forward, or your core's not braced properly. What you will notice here is you want the bar to be directly over the centre of gravity, which is your heels. Although this isn't a squat form video, this is just more tips on how you can adjust your form. But you will see that from side on. Again, if you're squatting like that and you see your hips winking out or your bum's lifting before it should, maybe even come down like that, and you can see your belly hanging down. Just simple things you can adjust quickly. But yeah, the side on position gives you a good view for being able to adjust, and also check to see if your knees are travelling too far forward, or various other things. Core braced, hips aligned, spine neutral. Breathe in, crunch down in the abs, and lower nice and slowly. Drive up and breathe out, reset your breath. Like I say to many people, it doesn't have to be extreme to get results. While you are practicing your warm-up, just stage up in the weights, going up and up. One of the things I have noticed with having multiple injuries, that the warm-up process and making sure that I get my form right can be key to not only a successful workout, but ensuring that I can work out for the rest of the week and making sure I don't make my injuries worse. If I continue to work smart and warm up smart, I can go back to doing almost as similar weights that I could do pre-injury. If I get it wrong, then it can wreck my whole week. And this is the frustrating things. Pre-injury, that was a warm-up. I do find it harder now. It probably takes more energy for me to brace my core and hold that position to protect my back and my spine than what the actual leg exercise is. So, but yeah, it doesn't have to be extreme. You can make great progress even with half that weight, just doing a little bit more volume. It all depends on whether you want to be an extreme athlete or you just want to look good and be healthy. It doesn't have to be extreme. Many people in here, day in, day out, are coming in and doing not extreme workouts, and most of them look great. You probably noticed as well that each time I've went up in the weight that I've added an extra accessory. For many years I didn't use wrist straps, I didn't use knee sleeves, I didn't use belts. I think there's some positives in that, so you can build up your muscles and make sure that they are doing the job first before you use, say, a belt to force you into a brace position. For me, a belt goes on at the end, and that is only to give me an extra accessory that I can breathe into that helps me with bracing my core. If you're somebody who's struggling with core bracing, you're struggling to protect your spine without it, you want to lower the weight and practice engaging your core and making sure that you have the technique right first, and then add the belt later as a tool to support the core bracing. It can be very dangerous if you do the opposite, because you get lazy, you rely on the belt to keep your back straight and can result in a lot of injuries. Knee sleeves for me, I don't come here to compete with anyone else. I don't compete in powerlifting or anything. I had motocross accidents when I was younger and had a lot of knee problems. For a long, long time, I refused to wear knee sleeves because I thought they were cheating, and I wish I wore them from the start now. I started using them just at the heavier weights to protect my knees. They do give you a little bit of a help to do, makes it a little bit easier. It's almost like having a little bit of a spring in your knee. It does help, but like I say, I'm not here to compete against other people. I'm here to protect my body and been able to do this for a long, long time. And wrist straps, you don't see many people squatting with wrist straps. However, I shoulder press out the bottom, and without the wrist strap, sometimes I can hurt my wrists because I'm not very flexible in the shoulders. I don't think they're necessary for most people. If you have good flexibility and you can get your arms directly underneath it, it's probably okay. However, I find myself rolling onto my fingers a little bit sometimes. That's why you'll see in each one of these videos that there's extra accessories added. In most cases, you probably don't need them. I do think, though, if you're having joint problems and things like that, just use accessories, but they may not be necessary. One thing I like to do here is a bit of a test lift. So just lift up. If it lifts up even, you're fine. If not, you just have to adjust your position. So hips aligned, spine neutral, hold the breath, some chops. And unfortunately, that's all we'll be doing today for weight-wise on the squats. It's very depressing when you can bench press more than what you can squat, but that's life. When you get injuries, you just need to let the ego go and just learn to live with them. Hope this video has been helpful, but the main thing is what I show here is just the videoing from different angles. So you have the back, side and front on, and this can help you to adjust your form without using a coach. It's worked for me for many years, but also works very well as well if you just get a coach or a friend, colleague to stand beside you and help you adjust your form if you can't do it yourself.